All right, good morning. This is our first time doing a live stream on a Monday. I don't know why. We've always done them on Thursdays or Fridays, so it's kind of strange to start the week jumping on a live stream, but
Yeah,
is
it
this
was an early morning for me.
this should be fun. We are today we're going to be spending a little bit of time with Home Assistant, and the idea today is we're going into looking at how to build a copilot for your home automation system. And so we have Darren and I here as always, but we're joined by Thorsten Klein, who is on the Acorn team and lives in Germany. Thorsten, hope you had a nice
Yes.
weekend.
Hi there. Yes, it was nice. Just returned from vacation actually. So it was
Did
a
you
long
catch any
weekend.
of the soccer? I know there was the Euros are going on in right
Oh
in your
yeah, well,
backyard, right?
Germany played pretty well.
There you go.
Was it a good, proper European vacation? Did you take off 2 months?
Unfortunately not.
Oh, curse of working with Americans. I'm so sorry, my friend. Well, nonetheless, we will today try to move through this reasonably quickly. I know we've kind of scheduled an hour, but it shouldn't take us too long to walk through this. Those of
We
you who've
always
been
say, we
following,
always say that, but we talk way too much.
I
We
know.
say way too much. But anyways, I promise.
Those of you who've been following GPTScript know we've been working on this now for about 4 months, 5 months since the early spring, and we really started a lot of the initial demos we were doing and showing kind of the use cases were all around automation and sort of using GPTScript to build basically AI apps, apps that allowed you to push in some kind of an event and get some kind of AI generated trigger back from it. Track this, and then when that happens, take some action and push that back so I could integrate it into my website or whatever I was trying to build. But as we've developed these further and further, we've started to add more interactivity to them. So if you can imagine sort of a spectrum of AI applications, on the if you imagine sort of the amount of autonomy and the amount of capability, being sort of axes for this, the first things were very autonomous. It was kind of like build this and then let it run and run it on a server, run it in a container, and have it just react to things that were happening. Whereas over time, we've started to kind of, I think, see a lot the benefit of building copilots and assistants and chat interfaces as well, using the same sort of simple GPTScript framework and being able to write those quickly using natural language and building up some framework around them has been something Darren's been driving. I know you've talked a lot about what a Kubernetes assistant might look like or a copilot for Kubernetes. And so today we wanted to sort of show how much further we've come in these, and we're going to build kind of a new assistant to work with a really popular application called Home Assistant, which is, as it sounds like, it's a home automation tool. It's open source. It's fantastic. If you're not using it, try it. It's a great system for managing a lot of different complex systems around your house. And it turned out to be a really cool system to work with through GPTScript. So Thorsten is a big Home Assistant user. So he when I mentioned we were doing this, he's like, "Oh, cool! I use this a ton." And I said, "Oh, that sounds great," because Darren has like 3 Home Assistant devices, and they're all kind of boring.
So everything. Okay, so I mean, I've got to be honest. Like everything I know about Home Assistant, I learned in about the last 2 hours, and it's all from AI too. So I, as normal, should have prepared significantly more for this, but of course didn't. And so I'm writing the GPTScript this morning, and we'll go through it, whatever. But like, it was quite amazing. Basically, AI told me everything to get it up and running, so I got it up and running. I got it connected so I can turn my TV on and off because I don't really have many smart devices. But we brought in Thorsten, so he's got a real environment, and so he'll show it. But I'll show building it up with my kind of dumb thing. But so Thorsten's our expert, and he has a surprisingly good Home Assistant environment. It's
quite impressive, actually. Because
yeah,
and I think the reason we started doing this because I just put in a bunch of Home Assistant stuff, and I've got like 9 apps on my phone, and I was like, this sucks. I've got to get something better. And Darren was telling me about Home Assistant last week, and hence we decided this should be what we do the meetup on. So, all right. Well, so what we're going to basically do then is, Darren, you're going to kind of show us how you built the Home Assistant using the new GPTScript 0.8 release that came out last week. And then we'll get it up and running, and I guess turn on and off your TV maybe. And then we'll hand it over to Thorsten, and Thorsten will kind of show us a little bit more of the power of this stuff and how it works with it all. So send in your questions, whether you're on YouTube or LinkedIn or Twitter, X. We'll try to answer them as we see them. And certainly the best way to get a question through, though, is on YouTube. So if you go to the Acorn Labs channel, you can find our stream on there. And we see those questions kind of prominently. All right. With that, Darren, you want to kick us off and start building this thing?
Yeah. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through and build this assistant. You'll see it's surprisingly easy to get something that's like, I don't know. I mean, it's like the amount of effort it takes to build one of these and the amount of functionality you get out of it is quite amazing. Probably takes a lot more time to, fine tune it and get it really, really, really good. But you'll see how quickly we can build this. It's amazing. So everything I've done, it was really just kind of from the morning. So
and prerequisite wise, like just, for somebody following along at home, you basically have, GPTScript installed and Home Assistant installed. Start with that, right?
Yeah. Well, so when I did this, so like, I mean, I'll show you, like, I didn't even, I used it to install Home Assistant, but that's not a smart idea. Like, you should most likely, because you have to set up all this other stuff, or whatever. So it's like, you need to install Home Assistant and then hopefully you've configured it. So the main thing that we're going to be showing is interacting with the CLI, because it ends up being like, it's super easy to get it to interact with the CLI and start doing things. So to make this like totally useful, you should already have Home Assistant installed and set up the CLI on your local machine so it can talk to Home Assistant. So Thorsten has a nice setup where he has all these devices and stuff. I don't. So let me see. So I have like, let's see. And all this stuff, so device list. I have like basically nothing. This is like, I just installed it and it found this stuff. So I haven't set up anything. This is like, I think some of the default crap that's there. Okay. So before we get into that, let me just kind of give some basics. So also you just need GPTScript installed. It's just a brew install GPTScript command. It's on our docs. So in GPT 0.8, what we just released, we have a brand new UI in TUI, like a text version, that has a greatly enhanced chat interface. So it makes chatting a lot nicer. So we'll kind of show that off here a bit. So to create a chatbot in general in GPTScript, it's pretty easy. Like, the one thing that's required is you just need to say chat true. Oops, I hit a weird command there. And then you can give it a friendly name if you want. So we'll just call this, what would I call it? Harry, the Home Assistant. I think that's what I called it before.
Hey, did you already choose your LLM that you're going to work with here, or is that part of building this?
No, I mean, so it's just GPT. This is just going to be GPT 4.0.
So you have that as just a default, like that's the default setting within GPTScript. So you also need to have an environment variable with some keys for your OpenAI.
Oh, well, so we made that super easy now too. Is I already have an environment variable set up with my OpenAI token, but so it's like I already have that set up. Let me just clear this out so you can kind of go through the first user. Okay, so I set that up because I'm always using it, but you don't even have to do that anymore. If you just say GPTScript, let me just create a simple, I'll just run like hello world or something like that. You'll see GPTScript examples, hello world. It's going to say, you need to provide your API. So you do need, that's the one thing you're going to need. You need an OpenAI API key to get going. So you have to go to OpenAI, get a key, put that in. So if you copy and paste and put it in there, then you're ready to go. So it's going to ask for it initially. That's another thing we put into the 0.8 release, just make the user experience of that slightly better. So
and if you were trying to run this with a different LLM, you would set that as a...
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a whole, you got to go to the docs to set up other LLMs. Those are... they follow a very similar flow, but you have to know who the LLM provider is and everything. So there's different ones, but
think of that as a level two GPT scripting. For most people, OpenAI.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just stick with GPT-4. It's so good. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna start with just a very simple prompt, just so I can show you the UI. So I'm a friendly assistant. Okay. So that's it. To get a chatbot. Yeah. So my favorite one is just always like talk like a pirate. Like if you just want a chatbot in GPTScript, this is the simplest way to get it going. So if I say, so this is the new thing we added, the UI. So if I say --UI and then say agent, it takes just a little bit to get going there. And then it will pop open a, let me pull this over here. Oh, hold on. I'm not sharing my whole screen. I'm just sharing. Okay. Let me present, share, entire screen. Okay. Yeah. So this is the new UI that we have. And so I'll be kind of demoing, some of this with this UI. So I don't know, whatever. How are you doing? So it gives you just a nice little fancy, looks whatever, just looks like a chat interface. So that's a new thing is built in the GPTScript. And then we have basically a command, a text version of this. I pretty much always use the text because I'm a terminal person. So we have kind of a text version of this. How you doing? Whatever. I love that it just accepts my typos. I never worry about correcting anything anymore. Okay. So those are just some things so it makes the kind of the interface a little better. Okay, so so now in order to build one of these assistants, like the key thing is we need to be able to access the CLI. Okay, so let's go back. Oops, I have it here. So first thing we want to do, before we even get to the CLI. So you want to give it like its kind of default prompt or whatever. So this is the instructions to tell the chatbot how to behave. So you want to say something like, you are a friendly assistant for Home Assistant, the open source software. Okay. And then typically when we write these, we just say, we put an introductory message in here. So you can say something like, ask the user if there's anything you can help them with. I don't know, something like that. Okay, so what's interesting is this, like when you say like you're an assistant for whatever, this is actually really important because I always thought this was dumb at first because it's like, it's like GPT-4 already knows all this stuff. And then you just put this one little line in there and it's like, oh, now it's an assistant for Home Assistant. But what's really important is like by putting that like just one little line in there, it kind of grounds it in, it knows that the dialogue and everything going forward is going to be about this software or whatever. So when you say like random terms, it knows those terms within the context of that software. So if you asked it like, what's the weather? Instead of, sorry, I'm a little under the weather. If you ask it something like, what's the weather? It's not going to think like, it's going to go, oh, you want to know the weather through Home Assistant, not just what's the weather in general. So it's like, as stupid as that first line seems, it's actually super important. Okay. So one of the things that's important is we want to be able to, we want the Home Assistant to be able to run tools, like run the CLI. So we have a built-in tool already called sys.exec. And this just allows the LLM to run commands. So this is like, when we do this, this always scares people of like, oh, it can just run arbitrary commands. Like what in the world it's going to do. So what we've done is we've built into the default interfaces. We built into the default interfaces, it will prompt before it runs any command. So if I go and I run this, so let me run this thing here. Like I've given it access to sys.exec. So I can say like, just do, let's see. I'll see if it will do this. Like list my devices. I don't know what this will do. Oh, okay. So we need to do more prompting. We'll get to this, but I was just trying to get it to run a command. Like just, we'll just do something like run ls. Okay. So when it's going to ask us whenever we want to do something, it's like proceed with running ls. So it's like, I'm giving it the ability to run a command. But you know, like you can, when you're using this interface, the chat interface, you can be like, feel safe that before it does anything, it's going to ask you. So that's why we can give it access to a bunch of things, because we have this whole like prompting authorization framework now built into GPTScript. So it can't kind of go crazy. Okay. So that's the first thing, is we need to be able to get it to run commands. So the second thing is like, it needs to know like what commands it has available. You know, it's like you need to tell it, like just saying like it can run a command is not usually enough. Because like here I said like, is there anything oh wait, no, what was it? I said list my devices. It didn't kind of know that it should use the host CLI, like the CLI. So what I can do is just say, okay, you have the host CLI available to you. The host CLI available to you. Use that to whatever, like answer questions or interact with Home Assistant. Okay. Okay. So now let's try running this again and see, and we'll try asking the same question, like list my devices. Yeah, so now it says it wants to do, oh, but it did HA. I don't know why it did HA. Okay. Is that a command? Is that the command? No, I think it's HA. It's S. Oh, I told it the wrong command anyways. But watch this. So like I want to show you this anyways, because what's interesting. Let's see what it does. Okay, so that was wrong. So let me see if I do this. You have the host CLI command available to you. I have a tendency to like not even write comprehensible sentences. You have the host CLI command available to you. Use that to answer. Okay, let's see if this works any better. Okay. Don't worry, I have a fully working thing.
Shocking.
Yeah. Okay. So what was interesting? Okay. So like that works totally fine. Because you can see what's kind of interesting is like I had a typo where I told it like you have I told it the completely wrong command. So like the slight things that I changed there was like I told it was the right command and also CLI. But the fact that like it with GPT-4, it already has like a huge amount of knowledge. So it already knows a lot about Home Assistant because there's a lot of information on the internet about it. So by actually putting in the right CLI, it actually, you know, associated that with the right thing. So like now it knows like the right thing to run. Okay.
Hey, Darren, there was a question about the sort of how your commands are being verified every time. Can you disable that if someone sort of already trusts it and wants to let it run?
So there's what you can do. You can when you go to run, it's like okay, because I can do this. List my devices again. There's you can say A, and then it'll just allow it always. So we're building in more, you know, do you think of it like a phone or whatever, where it's like, do you want to allow it to do this? And then you say yes. And so we're building in more capabilities in the GPT-script to manage like the preferences of what things you want to allow. Because there's like, if I try to run things from like a random GitHub repo, it will ask me like, do you trust this repo? So that's one thing of like, do you trust this repo? But also like within that session, do you want to run these commands? So there's multiple kind of levels of authorization and stuff. And so, but right now you can just say auto always. So then the next time if I ask it to do that, like say yet again, it won't prompt me. It'll just automatically go through. Saying yes to the sysexec is dangerous. And so we're actually trying to enhance that one to be a little more fancy, where we can say like, just kind of like authorize this command, not all commands in general. Yeah. Okay. So to be honest, like this is the bare bones of kind of what you need to get this working. Like this is like, so I'm going to add a little bit more to kind of polish this off, but like this is kind of the bare bones of what you need to just get going, where I can start asking it questions and interacting with Home Assistant. Because it already knows the CLI, it can run the CLI, and then it will go back and forth. Okay, but there's a couple things you'll find is like, if I go in here, let's say like this, okay. It's like, is there anything I can help you with? And I'll say like, well, can you turn on my TV? See what it does. Oh, oops. So this is most likely, if you see this error, that is most likely OpenAI itself failed. Okay. Yeah, okay. So this is it. So I said, can you turn on my TV? And so it's running this command. Let's see what happens. It's going to fail, right? So the problem here is, oh, they didn't even get the right command. Let's see what it does the second time. Yeah, so it's completely, so when I said that, it's like, it's kind of BS where it's like, I said, can you turn on my TV? But it doesn't actually know what TV, like it doesn't know the devices I already have. Whereas let me like start again and say something like this. Let's see if this works any better. Say like, list my current devices. Okay, so now it's gonna go, it lists that, okay. Now let me see if I say, okay, can you turn on my TV? Let's see what it tries to do. Okay, so you can see here I put loft TV. It didn't ask me which TV. I got two of them, I guess. But you can see like now it's running in parallel. Hold on, my wife won't appreciate it if I turn on the TV in her bedroom. So I can say no. I can say no on that one. so it's like proceed with running. Well, what is this? Yeah, no, I don't want to run that one. What is it doing? Oh, I think it's kind of stuck in a loop because it's not letting, like I keep saying no. This is a different problem, whatever. But anyway, so you can see by telling it what the devices are, it now has more context to make the right decision. So what we do here is we can add that context already to the chatbot, because this is kind of the thing is like the LLM already has a good amount of knowledge just of Home Assistant in general, but it doesn't have like the current contextual knowledge of like, what's my exact system? What are the exact devices I have? And so if you give it that information, then it can make much better decisions and stuff. This is actually the fundamental premise of RAG. But so we have this feature in GPTScript called context. And all context is it runs a GPTScript tool, and it takes the output of that tool and adds it to this current prompt. Okay, so it's the equivalent of like if I just typed a bunch of more things. But the cool thing about this is I'm going to run this tool which can do some dynamic things. So what I'm going to do is say devices and say main devices. And this is just a very basic tool that I'm just going to use it implementing with a shell script. And I'm going to say echo, do you have the following devices? And then I'm just going to immediately run, I think it's state list is the good command to run. Let me try this on this screen, make sure that's the right thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run, so let me just kind of show you. If I was to run this GPT script, I can say subtool devices. So what this command is doing is I'm going to specifically just run this one tool so I can show you. So when I run, I think it's dash tool. Yes. Okay. So the output of this tool is this text. So what this context tool is doing is literally, it's the exact same if I just pasted that there, okay? But it's giving it the dynamic information that's, you know, contextual and right at this point. So by doing that, it's like basically this is kind of like prompt engineering and whatnot. I'm dynamically building up the prompt so that it has more, like, better information. So now when I run this and say, okay, yeah, I hope I did the right thing. So I can immediately just say, like, let's see what it says. Like, what devices do I have? So you can see when I asked, like, what devices do I have, I had already previously run that command, so it didn't have to run the command. It already had that. So if I kill this and start again, if I just immediately say it was like, you know, turn on my loft, or let me see, like, is my loft TV on? No, it's off. Like, so because it already knew that, because I did state list. It didn't even have to run it. So because when I did state list, it showed the current state of it. So it didn't even, but I can say, like, can you check the current state? Let's see if I'll get it to run the command. Yeah. So then, okay. So, so you can see, like, building up these chatbots, it's super easy where it's like, look, the LLM already kind of knows Haas CLI pretty well, but if it doesn't, it's because I ran into situations where it actually came up with the wrong command. So right now this is working fine, but what you can also do is, like, in this context thing is you can literally just run, like, help. You can just run help. You know, it's like you can have it print the output of the CLI if it doesn't have a good understanding of it. Let me see. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, so for the most part, like, this is, this will work pretty darn well. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, so I'll show you, like, I have a kind of prettier version of this, which I wrote earlier, which is slightly different. This is the one that Thorsten is going to run. And this has a little more context things in here. And it also has this answers from the internet. So what's cool here is we can give it this tool here. It's a nice thing to just add to a lot of the assistants, because this gives it capabilities of searching from the internet. So you can say, like, you can ask it to do something and, like, it does the wrong thing. And then you can say, like, can you just Google that? And then it'll just Google it, and then it'll find out, like, more up-to-date information. And so you can kind of correct it. So this is just a generally useful thing to add a lot of chatbots. Okay. But you'll notice there's, like, one subtle difference here. It's like in this one, I said tools sys.exec, but in this one, I have these contexts. Okay. So sometimes it's not super useful to, like, sometimes you need to help the LLM a little bit more along than just giving it the exec tool. So for example, one of the issues is, like, oh, you can run any command. But if you're on Windows versus Linux, you don't, like, the commands are completely different. So it should kind of know, like, what's your OS or whatever. So instead of adding, like, just the raw tool, we can add this context tool. And so we've started building up some generic ones that have ended up being super useful as we've done things. Oops, hold on. So, like, I'll show you what this CLI one is. It's super simple. All it is it basically says you can run CLI commands from the local system. Because what you'll find sometimes is, like, if you give it that additional context of knowing that it can run CLI, like it doesn't, even though you give it a tool to run commands, it doesn't exactly know what the context of running those commands on. So it's like, just by giving it this tiny little thing, it helps a little better. But you can also see this has this export context, which is, like, a way to aggregate more contexts together. In this context here, it goes into this OS one, which is this tiny little Python thing, which basically just tells it what its current OS is. So this is, like, getting a little bit more fancy.
Is this one that is in your personal context, or is this something that is sort of general purpose?
this is general purpose. So this is from GPTScript AI. And so we started building up some of these general purpose ones that are super useful. So it's like, so instead of like, it's like if you want to just, you can think of these as kind of like capabilities, like, because like with these contexts, not only can you add, let me go to CLI here. Oh, sorry about that. Not only can you add, so this is just, this adds to the prompt. So like you're just basically adding this to your current prompt, but you can see this export tools. And what that does is not only does it add things to your prompt, but it also adds more tools available. So you can kind of build these like these kind of Uber contexts, which act like capabilities. And so that's what it kind of looks more like. So you can say like, instead of like saying for file system, I want to give it sys.read, write, ls, you can say it's just like, I'll give it the context file system one, which is super simple. It's just like you have access to a local system, and then it adds these tools in. But it just, you can just kind of build these little like capabilities. And so we have these different ones. Like this is one for the, if you want to run commands on the CLI, this is, if you just want to tell it, it can access files locally. This is to figure out what OS you're running on. And then this one is workspace is super useful. Of what this will do is by default in GPTScript, we always have, we have this temporary directory available to us where you can use this kind of like a scratch space. So I can do this when I run GPTScript. I can point it to a specific directory. Like I already have a workspace directory here. I'll show you. I think there's something already in. Oh, whoa, there's a bunch of stuff in there. Hold on. Well, it was mostly this Docker Compose because like that was the, so if you use this workspace one, because let me go and show you here, because I also did this here, is what's really nice about this tool is it tells the LLM like, here, you have this like scratch space that you can use for stuff. So, because a lot of times it's helpful for the LLM to be able to like write a file and execute it or whatever. So when I was doing like trying to get it to use Docker Compose to spin up the whatever, it would just write it like locally to my workspace or whatever. But anyways, so this was kind of like the finished, polished one. I'll actually, while Thorsten's demoing his stuff, I'll push this and I'll put it up on GitHub so anyone else can run this same thing. All that's required to do this again is you just need this CLI to be installed, and you need to set it up, which is like setting the server. There's two environment variables you have to set: the server and the token. But if you have all that, then all this should work. But that's the basics of building this. I mean, it's super simple, but Thorsten will actually demo, using it or whatever. But I'll kind of stop there if there's any like questions or anything you want to go over.
No, I think that was really good. I think it really showcases sort of the zero to an assistant, right? I mean, this is, effectively building out a copilot for an existing system that you can access through a CLI. And the power of all this starts to become obvious when you imagine, this is a zero Python, like no, 30 minutes of work to kind of connect a running CLI in a system to, GPT-4 and begin to have basically a copilot working. And you can imagine, really the whole idea here is as many tools as your organization or you personally in your world have, you can start to connect these tools and build effectively a library of systems that are available to your copilots. And then you can start building copilots to interact with those systems. And all of a sudden, you can imagine Darren shifting context and talking between Kubernetes in his local Kubernetes lab, and then shifting context to talk to his home because he's cold, turn up the heat, right? I mean, the idea of these copilots that sort of exist and work with you, I think is turning out to be one of the most powerful ways that AI is actually changing the way we do things, is not necessarily writing essays for us, but rather just, hey, go do this, and having it say, oh, this is what it takes to go do that. Yeah, perfect. Go execute that. So, Thorsten, I think you're still muted.
Oh yeah, before we'll go into Thorsten, I just want to show, because like you're saying, like so I just started doing this. I pushed this like just a couple of days ago. It's like I created a repo called Assistants, where I'm going to start pushing on my own personal assistants that I've been building, because you can start building these really easily for one-off tasks. So I built this one the other day for GitHub Actions, because I absolutely hate editing GitHub Actions, like the workflow files. So the other day I needed to set up a branch. So this is one which, again, it's not super difficult. It's like you're an expert on GitHub Actions, and then it just has a little bit of context in here where it prints out what the workflow files are. But if you go and run this, so it's like you can run like this example one here as like what was it, GH Actions. I'll show you this real quick. Because I was doing for Kevin. Kevin's a project we're gonna be pushing pretty soon. Let me show you this real quick. So, oops, sorry, that was the wrong thing. GH Actions. So, like yeah. So this is where I go like, do you trust whatever? Yes. Let me make this bigger. So it's like this one, it like immediately goes like, oh, these are your workflows. Like, can I help you with something? And like I use this literally to create like these workflows that I have here. Like 100% wrote these with just chatting with it. It's super easy to put these together. So this is where this same repo Assistants, this was like while Thorsten's talking, I'm going to push this up. This assistant, I'll push into this repo so you guys can see it. But yeah, so let me hand it over to Thorsten. And
there was one question Carlos asked about. He said, can a context take input to be used a RAG to call like a vector DB?
Yeah.
So that seems like a pretty obvious use case.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So you can do that. So you can because also what's interesting with the context is it's like it's called before every you can do a lot more fancy things with context where it's called before every time the chat message goes in, and you can actually pass in the like current message that the user is typing. So you can have it like, so when the user types it in, there's a syntax. Let me go back here where you can basically, this is getting like kind of some super advanced features that we're still kind of playing around with, but I'll kind of show you real quick. Shoot, where was I before? Oh wait, no, I was in a different terminal. This one, okay. So what you can do is like you can say context. I'm gonna say like I had some tool called RAG. There's a syntax you can say with, where you can pass in like arguments to it. But if you say with asterisk, what it will do is it passes in the current like the whole input to the tool at the time, which is whatever the user is typing. So you can possibly take that information and pass it to like something with RAG to build up some more context and then return that back. But having said that, what we've found is with RAG, it's actually better to just have a tool, which is like obtain more information about this. And then the LLM will kind of decide when to call the tool to get more it'll call the tool of when to get more information. So the way that we've been doing a lot of RAG flows is actually just with a tool and not context, but they're both possible. And we don't actually know what's the better approach. But anyways, so that's kind of, so yeah,
very cool, man. Very, very cool. All right.
On the knowledge tool. And so we have some cool, like we've greatly enhanced the knowledge tool over the last couple of weeks to do a lot.
Yeah, I was working with Daishan and Thorsten earlier this last week about taking an entire website and everything attached to it, all the PDFs, all the videos, and building a tool to just take all that knowledge and turn it into a vector database, basically. Like transcribe all the videos, turn all the PDFs into text, like take all that and put that into the knowledge of a chatbot. And it's
yeah, and like so what I really want to be able to do is like we have these knowledge tools, like so we build this little chatbot, but if I can additionally associate like a vector database to it that comes with the chatbot, then I can do things like that where it's like, oh well, I also just have all of the knowledge, it's like all of the current documentation or something, like the up-to-date documentation that the LLM might not have or whatever, just automatically indexing all of that and whatnot. So yeah, anyway, so
all right, we're gonna run out of time. We're gonna do just what we always do, which is go too long. Thorsten, you have the floor, my friend.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Oops.
Regarding the knowledge tool, that was the best thing about my vacation, that Daishan took over and polished it up. No, it's actually fast. All right. You should see my terminal and my Firefox window with my Home Assistant open. And it's not actually that cool. So it's not super polished up, but I have a bunch of stuff in there. And as you can see, it's German. So all my entities are German, or at least most of them. And I think this Harry the Home Assistant is by far the coolest thing I've ever did with GPTScript, because it's just so much fun what I can do with it. So let's start with the most obvious things, like I can control the light in my office right here. Let's just check what device I have available in my office. And it actually translates office, or uses office to look up the devices which are in the Büro, which is the German word for office. And I get all the feedback. So I have light, I have covers, I have a bunch of switches and sensors around here. And I've been playing around with this while you were talking, Darren and Shannon, and it's super fun. Let's have this finish. Okay, it's a lot.
What the hell, man?
It's all
you're living
sensors.
in like the surveillance state of your own making.
I cannot believe how many sensors. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, every switch has a power consumption sensor built in, and tells me if it's connected by MQTT and stuff. Okay, so turn on the lights. Oop.
There's a weird flicker.
I can take the hands off so you can see.
So weird. I don't know why it's flickering like this, but it's doing some crazy flickering of your screen.
Yeah, I don't know. Weird.
Ooh. The light up. So you should. I should be a little brighter now.
You are bright.
Yeah, I did actually notice that the light turned. Let's see if it gets darker now.
The most fun thing is.
Yeah.
It works. Without waking up Darren's wife. Nicely done.
Yeah. Seriously.
So let's make it a little darker. So that should close the cover. But the fun thing is, like, those are pretty obvious, right? Just do this, do that. But I can ask it to, that's too dark. Let in some natural light. And what it did before is it just set the cover to 50%. And let's see, oh yeah, current position 50%. So this is the fun thing about it.
It's the window like shade.
That's what covers is the shades.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow,
that.
You've got that automated too, man.
Yeah, that's super fun. But the bad thing is, whenever I operate the covers, I have power spikes. So now my screen turned off. No, we're back.
Are you serious?
This is dangerous stuff, man.
Yeah.
Okay, I also have that robot vacuum around here. Let's see if it's doing something. According to the HA UI, it should not be doing anything. Where's my vacuum? So the fun thing is, as it already knows about all the states that I have and all the devices, it can just figure out the name of the entity to look up. And it's docked right now, so not doing anything. I also have all my cameras and the home surveillance system hooked up. So let's just turn on motion detection in the garden. You should see this flip on. Let's see. Yeah, there we go.
Did it?
So I'm
So
not
what
actually
about
using my
something
phone for
like
this.
like this is what I always think is so cool is when these things sort of tie into the broader knowledge. Like you know, I have a ficus in my office. You know, what schedule can you create a schedule to make sure it gets enough light or something like that, where you're sort of using the knowledge of the you know of the broader GPT-4 and having it kind of working.
I don't.
Hmm.
You always push it to the level where we fail in these demos.
I do love that.
Let's try if we can do something like that. That flickering is super weird.
Yeah, I don't know why it's
I've
doing.
never seen that before.
Wow.
Oh, it's waiting.
Oh, what is it doing? Okay, wait.
Yeah,
What
okay. Apparently the CLI doesn't have that.
Yeah, it might have just like completely made that up.
Yeah, probably it would have to create like a YAML file with the configuration and then import it somehow. Idea, but I mean, it looks pretty good. Actually, this is the correct syntax. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. So these are the things where it's like you have to. This is where like it takes a little bit more playing around with of like kind of what does it already know, what does it not know, and what's the additional information you need to give it. So like because if there's because it's like this is where it's like if you were to take all the current documentation or something and then index that, like it would probably have a better knowledge or something on how to do this. But yeah.
Let's try that because someone just rang the doorbell. So let's see if there's someone in my driveway. I'm not
I
sure if
just
it's
heard a
still the
doorbell
camera.
run.
Oh yeah, see, there's someone right now. Now let's make it use German time. And maybe it uses the front door camera even. Oh no, it uses
look at that.
the cached.
What in the world?
Oh yeah, that's the front door camera, so that's a different one, not from the driveway. Yeah, so that's pretty fun. I can also ask it like if I'm currently consuming power or energy from the energy provider, or if I'm producing something with my solar panels. I currently producing. There's a lot that you can do, and it's super fun. Oh, and I forgot your favorite, Darren. I will ask it when I have to take out the trash.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so currently I'm consuming like 636 watts, and that kind of fits with the number we see up here.
Huh.
So there's a nice integration that tells me when I have to put out the trash bins to be collected. So when do I have to take out trash? Oh, see, like the gray and the yellow bin have to be taken out in 7 days from now. It's always fun that it translates everything to English for me, and it's even smarter on that. So when will the paper bin be collected? So the cool thing here is, like in Germany, we have colors for all the bins. Like paper is green, and seems like the LLM knows that and looks up the sensor for the green bin and tells me that will be collected in 23 days from now.
So you only get your paper picked up every 23 days, like every month, once a month? Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's once a month.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
they
How
reduced
funny.
it.
There was a question John asked. He said, "Hey, John, could you get it to grab the still image of the person and push it to the dashboard? Is that even possible? Like, could it?"
Actually, that's exactly what we tried before when when Darren told me that I will be in this meetup, and it did not work because it like the CLI doesn't have an option for it, and it tries to build the curl command for it, and that didn't really work out. But let's see.
Yeah, so we're integrating everything with the CLI. There is like an API available too, and we can do direct integration with the API. It's also like it would probably be better for a lot of the stuff if we just use the API. But yeah, we didn't. So if you have an open API schema, then it's super easy to hook up to GPTScript. Oh, that's binary. That's better than it was before.
Oh, there's something, yeah.
Yeah, try opening it.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Oh, there you go.
Whoa!
Nice. Oh no, we just doxed your driver's license or your license plate there.
All the Thorsten stalkers are going to be finding him now. Shit.
Yeah. So that worked.
There you go, John. Any other questions, anybody? I mean, I know we're kind of out of time. We've been going for 50 minutes. This is really cool, guys.
Yeah, and I did push. Let me see. I did push that to GitHub just now. Let me see. Shoot! I just lost my window. I don't know where you guys are. Sorry.
It looks like it's there. I just click on add to stage.
Yeah. Oh, so I did just push that. So I built the cloud assistants. You can find a Home Assistant. So this is the one that Thorsten was just running right now. So you can run that with just GPTScript. GitHub.com. I build the cloud assistants. Home Assistant. Oops. That should run. Let me see. I'll just try real quick. Lies. There. Oh. Unauthorized. Home Assistant. Did I type it wrong? Let me just copy and paste. No. Okay. Well, I lied. Oh no! It's working. Sorry. This is because in my terminal here, the home. I don't have the environment variable set up. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, it is actually working. This is if I run this in the right window, it'll work fine. Let me go to the one where I was actually demoing from. I have too many windows. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I lost it. I have no idea where I put that. Is it this one?
What's so cool about all these assistants while you're trying to figure this out, Darren, is just you can imagine. I mean, some of the stuff we've been talking recently with a number of companies about how they're building like almost like copilot catalogs, right? Where they start to build out all the possible, all these systems, all these endpoints, all these sort of APIs that they want users to be able to engage with. And then the users are able to connect with them using their own credentials, their own context. So you start as Thorsten or Darren or Shannon engaging with the systems you have access to. And you start to be able to create these assistants, and especially for like DevOps engineers and developers and stuff, the CLI based approach is really cool. Obviously you can build out UIs or build these things to be sort of back end powered, but it's just kind of neat to see how quickly you can put together copilots and assistants for different internal platforms and give them really the right context to be able to engage. This is exciting stuff. All right, anything else you guys want to touch on before we take off?
Nope, that was it.
All right, everyone, have a wonderful afternoon or evening or morning, depending on where you're at. Thorsten, thanks for jumping in, showing off everything about your home. It's impressive. And Darren, thanks as always. We'll see you guys in the next stream. Take care, everyone.
See ya.